Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. Happy weekend. Thank you for finding time and visiting today's webinar session. My name is Nur Alifah from Megajati Academy and I will be a moderator for today's webinar session. Today we are presenting report writing guide for PAE application category electrical by Technologies Engineer Dr. Nordin bin Ramli. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Please mute your microphone during the presentation. And if you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the chat box and speaker will read them during the Q&A session. We will also send all the relevant email, including a link to download today's slide presentation. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome our speaker to start the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank you for the university as well as the participants that able to spend allocated time to listen to this talk related to preparing professional assessment examinations from different angle that we're going to discuss over here, but focusing on the branch. My name is Nordin Ramli. I'm the professional engineer, but it's the so-called practicing certificate. Okay, so yeah, the presentation will be focusing pretty much on the topic of that we are trying to basically on preparing ourselves for the the examinations for the PAE, right? But for that's the idea. Okay. You might have some questions about that, and I'm looking forward to discuss or to listen for the question. Hopefully, information will help you in the process of applying yourself to become one of the professionals one day. All right. Okay. Share the screen. Okay. So today is basically we are preparing ourselves for the professional engineer preparation program. So we want to focus on the report writing guide for the PAE, the paper branch. Okay. So I think we have four parallel trend this morning, and myself is the second one. Sorry, today we have two parallel sessions, and tomorrow we have two parallel. My name is Nordin Amli. I am the so-called professional engineer with the practicing certificate in electrical branch. Okay, so a little bit on myself. I think I'm currently working at field most Berhad, as well as involved with some consultations with some of the companies and so on. Myself also basically involved with the as an examiner for the applicants to want to apply for the professional engineer. So in the past, we have numbers of people that myself and as a interviewer or the examiner, we have reviewed and so-called look through the process and so on. By that, hopefully today I will able to provide you some insight on how it can help yourself, your journey to become a professional. Right? Basically, I'm having about 20 over years of experience Yeah, 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 I think I have a 20 over years in work, so that's the reason also very close to board as engineer as part of involved in the basically the university as advisory for the engineering education council uh for the university point of view, basically IAP as well as the involved process of uh, consulting uh, for support the new or new people that want to apply for the purpose. But so that's a little bit of myself. You can see myself from the LinkedIn as well as from the Facebook, and can connect me through that channel as well. Right. So the objective basically, pretty much you want to go to the what we are going to discuss today to provide participants with standardized and comprehensive program to guide the participant. Basically, I want to explain on the bigger picture first on the how the professional engineer application point of view and what's a professional assessment. Uh, so so this is some of the session that we have recently through online because of pandemic and so on. Prior to the pandemic, we have basically conducted it through physical meeting, right? So normally they will spend one whole morning at a center. Basically, we're having a session for the examinations. There are two parts. One is oral or interview session. It's normally will take about 45 minutes, and later it's essay writing, basically about uh, close to 2 hours, right? 3 hours. Something. Right, but to go for PAA exam, we need to basically prepare the technical report. So, actually, that is the purpose of today, how we are able to prepare our technical report as well as experience report, according to what required by the board of engineers. Right? So, this is one of the event that we did. I think sometime. I think we not even. I think last year or last during the time that pandemic is a little bit calm, then we are able to have a session. So we managed to interview quite a number of candidates. I think yeah, that's a little bit the background. Uh, so yeah, myself, I think you can uh, get some idea where I'm coming from. So the idea today is to look into how we want to become professional. I believe everyone here that's joining today's in a session basically want to be a professional. So there's a very long journey. For example, myself, it took about 1 year to the point that I submit the document until I receive the notification that I have passed the PAE assessment and can apply for a professional. So I'm going to share to you how we can prepare the PAE reports accordingly, and as well as the tips. So the tip is something that that based on my personal view that perhaps can help you to prepare your reports accordingly. And we do wrap up, and I look forward for your questions later on. Okay. All right. Without we go to uh, so-called to the topic of today, let's look on a little bit of bigger picture on the how these things work. Basically, the professional engineer and so on. Today we are not going to look into what's about of engineer. So I believe being the graduate engineer of yourself, myself as well, we are really close to bottom. It's a regulatory body. I can see here that's govern the professions of the engineers. All right. So basically, there are acts that are available. Uh, there is X 1967, and they have a revised version 2015, as well as registration of engineering regulation 1990 revised 2050. So there are two uh, so-called documents that govern board of engineers. So from the board of engineers, basically they are having members that you know working on governance govern of the professions. Basically, they have many stakeholders from different sides. For example, from the public service, local authority, engineering consultancy practices, some federations or engineering society or practice firm, one representative from Board of Architect as well as one representative from quantity surveyor. Right. So the puncha cluster of this spot or the source of the authority is coming from through the Minister of Work that appoint President of Board of Engineer under Section 302A of the Registration of Engineer Acts and to appoint 16 board members under this clause and that's why form registrar. Right. So this is how the formation of the board of right. So I think it's just good for us to have some idea how this regulatory body works. I think more information you can get from the website because I think the Bottom Engineer website has a very rich information that you can refer to, especially in preparing yourself to become, applying for the profession. But I believe when you first graduate from the university, the first thing look is how to graduate to how to register to become graduate, right? So okay. So these are a few of the registered person okay from the at the bottom. Okay, but before that, I think just a disclaimer. I think some more information here actually I get it from the board of engineer. So this is not mine from myself. Basically, it's a valid information that comes from board of engineer. But I want to put that disclaimer. Yeah. And what I'm going to say within this session basically is not representing board of engineer. Basically, it's representing myself. Hopefully, it's right. Okay. So to go back to this, the so-called individual registered person. Yeah, with the barang. You have many. I think the first thing first, basically, when you started to graduate from the university in the engineering background, basically you need to register to the board of engineer as to become a qualified engineer OD. Then therefore from there you can take a job that related to it, right? Over the span of, for example, 3 years or more, then you are eligible to apply to become professional. Is someone that in a higher grade of that having more responsibility. And by having the title professional engineer, it's not just about the title, but basically it's comes with a responsibility, right? And over a years that you become a professional, later you can apply go through some assessment, then receiving the practicing certificate of PE. So where you are able to to expand your horizon in delivery of the engineering related consultancy, advisory, as well as take any related job related. Right? So and later when you are very competent enough, then you can be appointed as an accredited checker, or you can apply to become a accredited checker that you are able to to become a checker, go to the site to and perform the so-called like compliance check. Right. From different side of the the kind, we actually a lot of engineer also look on the technologies. So they have the engineering technology track that you might be having some for example coming from a bit engineering technology side. So they also expect of work. I think the more clear definition you can see from so-called okay. So as for today, basically, how many people are registered? I think this is some data that I just received, not received, actually just referred to the website in the morning, from this morning. That what you are able to see here basically is a numbers of people. One is a professional engineer with a practicing certificate. We have about close to 9,000. You can see here. Uh, okay, so we have these numbers. Yeah. Right. So professional engineer we have 5,000, and checker we have 14, and we have a big enough pool of graduate is 164,000. In technologies we have 12,000, and inspector we have 4,000. Okay, so I think it is very very good for you that because you might be coming from this group that hopefully through have a experience, and now it is a time that you can apply to become a professional, right? Board of engineer also you know allow for for example professional to set up a professional engineer to set up the firm and practice the engineering consultancy and advice. So all the governance for the consultancy company that perform the engineering work also need to be registered to Paragudi. So at this current moment, we have about 1,000 over body corporate. We have body related to multidisciplinary, about 48 partnership company is about 200 over, and individual sole proprietorship company you have about 1,200. Okay, I think as I said earlier, I don't wish to go to from the bigger picture that you want to look into the board of engineer point of view, what is engineers can do, what engineers can't do. But because we want to focus to what important today to the preparation of the reports ready for the PAE. But to go there, perhaps to get everyone same contact, let's revisit some of the important information related to the profession. Right. I think it's very clear. I think as I believe everyone of you registered with the board of engineer because it is a compulsory for us. Basically, whenever you want to perform jobs or take any job related to engineering, we have to register. Right. So registration is like a must. Right. Similar to another type of professions, engineers also need to be registered because it's very clearly stipulated in the act, right? So this is the page coming from Board of Engineers saying that section 7(1)(a) saying that no person shall, unless he's a professional engineer, can take up employment which require him to carry out, perform professional engineering services. So the word actually professional engineering service. What do you mean by professional engineering services? Basically, it is about you advising, you provide some advising, some consultancy or some engineering, for example, design, installation, maintenance, work related to that services. Right? And another one also, we have a person shall not, unless he is a professional engineer with practicing certificate, practice carry on business. Right? So this is about two different things. Yeah? One actually is professional engineer. Another one actually is a professional engineer with practicing certificate. So with practicing certificate, definitely we allowing you to practice, carry on a business or take up employment which require him, or you to carry out perform professional engineering services for designated engineering subjects to the section. Particularly by having look on this one, in order for you to set up a engineering firm, you need to have at least one professional engineer with a practicing certificate in the board of the director of that company. Well, the above section is is explained on individual as a professional engineer. Basically, we need to become or been appointed or been awarded a professional engineer before we are able to take out any professional engineering services. Okay. Another item related to act as well. A graduate engineer who is registered with board may subject to section 8 take up employment which require him to perform professional. Alright, so there are different things. As far as you can see, we can take up employment. With the ambil kerja lah. We can do other people job, right? But this one actually is to perform the engineering work, right? A graduate engineer who is registered with board engineer may subject to section 8 take up employment which require him to perform project professional engineering. Okay, another one also 7AA, 72AA. Engineering technologies who is registered with board may subject to section 8 take up employment which require him to perform professional and so on. So this is basically clearly explained on the role or requirement. What is graduate engineer? What is engineering technologies? Spectre of work able to do or not to do in job. Right? And for the body of the or body basically is given in 7A1. A sole proprietorship, partnership or body corporate may practice as engineering consultancy practice and recover in any court any fee charge, remuneration or other form of consideration for any professional services rendered by pursuant to its practice as engineering consultancy practice carried out by virtue of this section. Right. Okay, so I think this is some confusion. What do you mean by professional engineering services? Means engineering services, advice in connection with a feasibility study, planning, survey, design, construction, commissions, operation, maintenance, and management of engineering work or project include any other engineering services approved by the board. Right? So that is professional engineering services. So it's clear, right? So it must be related to engineering, right? So there are some blur, for example, when we are talking about computer, right? Computer. So there are also computer engineering. There are also computer and so-called software and so on. So yeah. So when we want to review the competency, either they are doing engineering or what, I think it must we will look into the subjects and so on, and if they are went through all the different subject related to the engineering, then therefore they are able to perform their profession, the engineering related that might be fall within this given definition. On the other hand, engineering work means all works which include any publicly or privately owned public utilities, buildings, machines, equipment, project work or project that require beacon or engineering principles and data. Okay, so that is some given summary of the interpretation, some definition from the board of engineer when with regard to registration of the company. So it means that if you are having, you were or you wish to set up a engineering firm in the future, you need to register to board of engineer. And in order to do that, there are some compliance or requirement you need to meet basically. For example, that need to have how many professional engineer with practicing certificate in the company in certain branch and so on. If you are doing electrical branch, then you need to have someone within the branch or mechanical or civil or mechanical. All right. So I think we go straight to the how to become a route to become a professional engineer. I think what is more important, what is the key basically is you need to be registered as graduate engineer with a board of, without registering to board of engineer, even though you have a valid, so-called degree, from a local or international institution without registering as a graduate engineer with board of engineer, you are basically supposed not, you are actually forbidden from taking any engineering work. Right? So, which we foresee also many of, maybe they are not been given a proper permissions by their school, or they don't have any awareness that in order for them to take any job or to perform the engineering work need to be registered as a graduate board of engineer. Right. So this is very critical, and sometimes people over the years, for example, working with multinational company, and suddenly when he knows that he can basically apply for professional engineer, but look back at where he is, basically he's not registered with qualification, and therefore what experience that he have done in the past are not accounted to be calculated for requirement to make or to apply for professional engineer, right? So next actually to go having satisfied the training requirement by the board. Basically training requirement basically is industry requirement, practical experience. If you are in electrical, you are working related to the practical work, in the plant, the field, under supervision of the board of. Okay, basically, 1 year actually is a minimum, but a normal case we normally look at 3 years and more. From your first degree, basically, it's not easy for you to, for example, within 1 year, then you can apply to become a professional engineer. Normally, you look into, you have enough years in the experience in the career, then therefore, I think committee will review and either allow or not allow you to proceed with the next step. And to apply to become professional engineer, there are several routes basically. The first one, basically, the common one that I'm going to discuss today, basically the professional assessment examination, the PAE, that normally been done through supervisions of the certifying body under board of engineers. So, right, so professional assessment examination. Uh, you if you are coming or having registered with professional body recognized by board, so there are few uh, body that been recognized by board, for example, coming from IET from UK, for example, you are able to apply through this route, and another route basically through a corporate member of Institute of Engineers. Right, so this is the process. Right, so then the next one, basically, once you determine the route, then you can apply to PM, to sit for the. Basically, we apply to become professional engineer, but basically there are few steps. First one actually is to sit for the PAE, basically professional assessment examination. So once you okay, ethics, yeah, okay, never mind. I think the question we do it later. We take a look. Yeah. We have some of the topic perhaps. So some of the let me. Okay. So Siti Johaida asked about ethics. I think yeah we do that later. Yeah. So to go first. To go through. Right. So I think this is a route. I think it's more clearer or details route. But today we want to discuss this route. Right. Okay. So basically, you have to obtain at least 3 years practical experience as a specific. So that 3 years experience must be 2 years of general training that provide a sound basis of professional development and at least 1 year of professional career development, and training provided wide exposure to the various managerial and technical. So there are two things. It is more management as well as technical expertise. So when we are looking at technical, basically, it's not just to become a project manager. You need to perform the job need to understand the detail of the technicals, even coming level of, for example, determine the the size of the wire, the conversion of down or up of the electrics power and so on. Right? Then you have at least 1 year of practical training must be obtained in Malaysia. So if those are coming from engineering certificate or degree coming from overseas, so you need to perform at least 1 year of training must be obtained in Malaysia under supervision of the professional engineer in the same branch of engineering as practice as different. So you may ask question. Some of the organization, for example, you don't really do the engineering. You are doing some engineering work, but there's no professional engineers in the same branch inside your company. Right, so you can still either you get someone to become your mentor to review your training experience for that 1 year, or you can refer to board engineer to request them to appoint someone to become a mentor for you for that 1 year, because by that you will be able to fulfill this requirement. Right, so this is the I think the prerequisite before we are able to go for this professional assessment exam. Route B and Route C, basically Route C actually is through IEM. Okay, so I think they have a proper corporate member and so on. And Route B basically to the route that for those who are having or member of other regulatory body or professional, or even for example someone like from different country that having already registered locally with the governance body, perhaps like Board of Engineer India country, they might also go through this route. Okay, so but we don't need to put. Okay. So this is a very summary of those things of the previous because this is coming from the website. Okay. So this is more summary that what you are required to do. Route A, basically you need to register with board engineer as a graduate engineer, having 3 years practical experience, and when you are able to, first thing, this is the prerequisite. Then you go for PAE. So PAE is professional assessment examination. We then through the PAE we have interview, normally 45 minutes, and we have a written technical paper and written essay exam on the ethic of professional conduct. So this is the summary of. Okay, so once you manage to pass the PAE, then definitely you can you be informed by the board engineer that you have completed the PAE. Then the next step, basically you need to apply to be upgraded or elevated to become professional engineer. Right? It's not you apply once is you know it's just complete. Yeah? Need to apply for the professional assessment examination first. Then after that you go for registration to become a professional. Okay. So the rest I think is just a Route B to those who are registered, for example, under different domain, for example, this engineers Australia, IET, and so on. Right. So Route C is for the corporate member of IET. Okay. So I think graduate engineer, I think to become a graduate engineer, you need to have it is a little bit like revision. You need to have a graduate in from the engineering accredited program by the board of engineer, either at the local university or at international university or from many regions. So right, and as well as those who are basically in Malaysia, we have EAC. Okay, so EAC, Engineering Accreditation Council, as well as PTEC, that govern all the so-called the program locally in Malaysia. And from the international point of view, those country that's signed for the Washington Accord. Basically, because we in Malaysia also we apply, we also signatory to this Washington Accord. Basically, whatever members that are signed for this accord, basically the the offered program at their country basically uh, accepted by Malaysian authority or Board of Engineer because of we also are the signatory for the Washington Accord. Right. So these are the country that basically you are having the degree from these universities or this country basically it's been recognized by the Board of Engineer, then therefore you are able to be registered as a graduate engineer. Some are still in the process provisional, like for example, if you are having degree from Chile, Thailand, Bangladesh, Mexico, and Philippines, it is being accepted to be registered as a graduate engineer, but the Board of Engineer will require you to submit more evidence, especially when it comes to the so-called the subject that you took during the degree course. Right. And this is very clear. So we are also one of the member from the that signed the Washington Accord. So we are having, basically our degree program that having in Malaysia basically also being accepted by the engineer society or the regulatory body at this country. That is in the general. All right, I think to this is we go very fast. I think this is then you just apply to the board engineer. All right, so I think this is straightforward. I think you okay, and I think then you get to become, and I think you receive this one. Normally it take about 1 to 4 months. Then at the end after the registration, basically you will be receiving the certificate saying that perakuan pendaftaran sebagai juruterus. I think it's not difficult, but actually also very important for us actually to inform others, our colleague, our friends, or any our anak-anak, those who are going to graduate. Now, first thing first, you are graduate from engineering degree from local or international university. Whenever you want to take any job related to engineering, so you need to register. So it is for good for them as well. Through my experience, I witnessed a lot of people that for example, they join multinational company, uh, straightforward from the local uh, university. When they graduate, they go to job. They work at some international company, but without knowing that the requirement for the individual to be registered as the Sutra Siswaza. Okay, this is very critical, when first is to look on the liability or the profession point of view. In any case that, for example, involve any issues with regard to, either the professional engineering services just now as we've been taking, to govern as well as to protect we as engineers, right? So we need to be protected. So what uh, we can be protected is through the act, right? And the act is clearly stated that in order to take any job related to engineering work, you need to be registered. So if you don't fulfill that one, you are not bound. You are not able to be protected through the act, right? So hopefully we can help each other to inform others. Okay, so I think this is the engineering branch discipline within Malaysia Board of Engineers. We have four core branch. One is the civil, second is the mechanical, the third is electrical, and the fourth is chemical. If you are in between, for example, that we are talking today is electrical, is a core, but everything within, for example, computer engineering, electronic engineering, is all also fall under clear a sub domain or sub branch within the electrical. So we do interview, but candidates that having the branch under electronics, communication as a computer, right? Definitely, when it come to the core one, right? So this one, the core, branch, basically the expectation is quite high from the examiner. Like, we really want to see either you are competent, having the enough experience, or not. Because when you be given the professional engineer, basically you not just because of you one a professional engineer, but actually you are representing the entire engineering society, all the professional engineer as well as to represent the para engineer as well. So the it's very critical for the examiner like us to really review the reports uh, to ensure that you have enough competent, you are meeting all the required you know uh, items that eligible you to be or able to convince us that you are having a good all this experience as well as know-how, knowledge, and so on that can become a professional. So yeah, so that just to share a little bit because of that reason also today the purpose of today basically I would like to give you some of the how we can prepare your report accordingly properly. Right? So okay, right. Okay, so this is yeah, I think hopefully we are within this one. But I think what the discussion today will be same thing if you are under different branch as well. Okay, because the expectation, the requirement for you for this one basically is still the same. Yeah, what we want the the review session to be done. I mean, having some set of the expected features or requirement that to meet. Right. Okay. Practical experience, I think this is very clear. I think we just go very fast. I think graduate must be two engineer in general trainings that will provide a sound basis of professional. At least 1 year professional career development and training provide wide exposure to the various managerial. And I think as much you, for example, when you graduate from engineer, from engineering certificate degree from university. So you want to perform the engineering work. That's the reason you register as a graduate engineer. But after you register and you go to the open market, job market, and the company are very much very pretty much doing engineering so-called work or those who are a little bit lenient to do, for example, sales and so on, right? So, we witness those who are pretty much doing sales are hardly to go through because they don't have enough experience. For example, the idea that the item that we require for the during the interview, for example, they are not able to provide enough explanation in the report. So on. Okay. For example, you are become sales engineer, but you are doing engineering work. That should be fine. You have you're not just doing selling of the product, but also able to talk about about the engineering, about the features of the product, able to go to the customer side and perform the engineering works, or assist the client on how to install and do some calculations on requirement for that equipment to be installed. So on. Okay. So this is uh, basically you will highlight those things in the report. Okay. And at least 1 year of professional career development, basically, you've been given a task on, for example, leading a group of engineers to take any job related to some deployment, some installation, some project, and so on. Right? Basically, another thing that we always ask basically, all right, whenever you do that work job, who's the supervising engineer or professional engineer that supervise your job, right? So that's very critical because not many companies, having professional. So so how to do that? So you need to request from board engineer to appoint someone, to support you to do that, right? Okay, or by your own initiative also, you can consult anyone through the company to become advisor for you or mentor for you for you to act, to validate or verify your experience, and therefore, you are able to apply for the professional. Right. Okay. So this is why I want to go here, because of this is something that you are going to explain in the report, right? So the professional career development and training, this is even though it's experience, but later you will be explained in the report. So whenever you explain the report, you need to very much look on the technical point of view. You shouldn't put too much, how many sales do you get, that one actually good for you, but it's not part of the expectation from the reports. Yeah. So we need to explain about general experience, managerial, technical expertise. For example, what role are you in taking the job? Right? Are you become engineer or lead engineer, or even projects engineer that's able to manage a group of engineer, for example, job and so on. Right. So we want to see also the competency, that you are having a balanced competency between managerial, management of the engineering, as well as technical. Right. So this is very much general, and so these two things basically will fall under here. So when we come to managerial and technical expertise, we are pretty much look on these 2 points. One actually is design, another one actually is the site experience, right? So design basically is design work. So for example, when it comes to electrical, you have equipment, or you want, for example, you want to set up, a plant that then you are uh, part of the M&E team. You are been assigned to look on the electrical, for example. So there's equipment to be installed, and how much the input power that you are taking, which from which source can be incoming berapa and so on. So you want to know, for example, what is the calculation involved and so on. So when you provide a report, please explain more detail on the explanation. For example, how you calculate the load, the resistance. So sorry. Right. Okay, so this is something that I always emphasize. So when in the report, yeah, we see that you have this as the design the spirit, a design, I mean some write up on the design, and also the site spirit. So we want to see you on how you manage the project, or manage the group of the people, uh, and so on. Supervising engineering work, conducting applied research. This is pretty much related to the university, but I think can be generally also explained in the bigger picture. Basically, you want to know how you are able to manage the situations according, right? So I think this is okay. I think this is important. Yeah. So expected or expectation when you develop a report. So you need to explain that your general engineering experience, the chronology of the your experience from one job. So starting from your registered as the graduate engineer, work at this company, at that company, and so on. So it's like a CV. Basically, to prepare this one, you should prepare a proper detailed CV, and you just apply over here. But need to explain a little bit on what is your role within that, for example, at different company that you are at, right? And more detailed discussion, basically want to review actually on the design competency. How much you involve for example, uh, setup of the equipment, for example. What is your role over here? Are you just supervising or become a manager? We foresee also when we review. some I don't want to name but the company that they actually they are coming from big tech organization, but the problem actually they started to join as executive. They are not given a proper technical challenge to work on. They because most of the technical part has been managed by the vendor or contractor. So I think this is quite tough for the engineer because it's very critical for engineer to go beyond the role, basically to look into how they can gain the technical so-called know-how here. Because by having the technical know-how or knowledge here, you are able to work together with the vendor or the contractor. We foresee also many not so far many some of the candidates that came that they are good at supervising. It's not, but the technical part they say that one managed by vendor lah and so on. So I think that is something that's missing in the puzzle. So what we wish to see actually you also are able to discuss about the design matter with the vendor. It's not totally outsourced, giving so-called totality to the external parties to the project. At the end, you are not able to perform your job properly because you are supposed to be there to discuss, to critics, to validate about the engineering's item. So the site experience. So this is when we are working with other people. Basically, we want to see how your engineering provision skills uh, related to technical. That's very very clear. Engineering work. I think this is pretty much clear. I think to go to the PN, I think I believe you everyone are clear to go to the PN. Alright. So for example, this is GE. From the GE. So we to go here we have several routes. Okay, so we are here to look into route one. We are go to seat for PAE. So this is PAE. Okay. So some are using route number 2, some are using route number 3. But this is the route that been already established quite long under the border basis, right? So to sit PAE, we are having technical. They have several. Okay, so first thing first, I think when you see that you are eligible to become apply to become professional engineer, so you will apply to PAE, right? So you need to apply the PAE form, right? So first committee, when you submit the document, the committee will review your document. Review the document. They will review. So I'm using mouse, so not so clear. Review your document. So okay, what the committee will look at basically is I think either you are fulfilling the requirement. So I mean that the experience years, how many years in the design work and so on, right? So if you are able to pass through this process, then the board of engineer will uh, basically what having today basically board of engineer okay, has appointed and so-called certifying body to perform the for example certifying body. There are certifying body called IEM, the Electrical Engineers Malaysia, as well as I think we have also mindset. Okay? Malaysian Science, Engineering and Technology is a organization that takes the PAE or perform the PAE assessment on behalf of the foreign engineer. Right. So basically, once the document review is completed, then they will pass your applications to the this you know certifying body. All right. So then they will appoint the what we call it uh, lead examiner as well as second examiner. So there will be two examiners will be appointed over here, right? And what you will inform actually is to provide this one technical, and so this is the second part. So you need to provide the technical as well as training reports prior to the interview, right? So then after that, you have submitted the report, then the report will be given to examiner, then you'll be given a date for the so-called interview. Then there will be interview, okay? Normally it's 45 minutes per candidate, and on the second, this is on the first part. On the second part, there will be a essay writing. Right? So there are two parts of essay writing. One actually on the technical, which related to your report, and secondly, actually on the professional conduct or the ethics. So there are two parts. Okay, section one, A and okay. So that is the process. It's quite long process lah. Sometimes some of you may be having some because the document is not enough, the committee will ask you to provide more evidence and so on. So you maybe spend more time over here. Maybe normally it's within 1 or 2 months, and suddenly you'll be adding another month because you need to supply more evidence to the committee, the reviewing committee, because without that evidence, then you are not able to go for the PAE exam, right? Okay. So once you completed all these things, and we the examiner will review, basically we review this essay as well as the interview, and the you through the interview, and based on that one, we put a recommendation to the committee of the professional engineer. Either you have meeting the required competency or not, and we recommend you either to be eligible to be become professional or not, right? So that is our process. We don't appoint you. The appointment is coming from the board of engineer, but we as examiner normally we review your technical report, review your your means through the interview, how far you are meeting the requirements. So, right. So that is and we put a recommendation to the board of engineer, right? So I think there's some candidate with me now. So where is it? So okay, for example, what we are having here, so in the report, what we are looking, okay, that one we do that, yeah. Okay, okay. Okay, Faizal nanti saya jawab on the low voltage to high voltage to set one. Yeah, so we go on that one, but we go very straightforward. Okay. Okay, so this is hopefully you are clear. I think this is the process, and because you may have a lot of experience, not necessarily you need to put everything over here. So that is also important, right? So you need to focus what you are good at and able to handle or to perform, able to answers our questions during the interview. Okay. I think the format is clear forward. I think just go through. But I think good for you to look at this one. What is important question. I think this is the current one. I think the latest one just took from the board from the website last night. I think this one. I think okay. So this is important. So they clearly stated that you are registered to Swaza, to Swaza, and has experience no less than 2 years. So this is very important. If you are 2 years and half, I think not meeting the requirement. And enough pengalaman practical sebagaimana yang so this pengalaman basically is stipulated over here, right? So this is the pengalaman. So you need to write down, for example, it's not, you know, clear enough. For example, that, sometimes when you are doing your job, you don't really so-called understand either that's it because it's design job or what. Sorry. But I believe you based on individual career and so on, you are able to determine either your task is related to design or site or planning work. Okay. This is second part. I think the first part I think is clear. You can fill up this one. I think it's straightforward. But I think this is you need to be creative a little bit to explain on your experience. Right? So, and it's clearly stated here, statement must be after registered as graduate engineer. So, even though you have a very vast experience prior to registration of the graduate engineer, those experience are not counted to be as part of the calculation for you to meet this second item. So, this one, yeah. Okay, so I think that's why very critical when you have your clique, if not yet, running, doing engineering work, tapi dia tak register dengan buat. So you don't need to go U-turn. Go straight register. Ask him to register, even though maybe he already few 10 years in the sector and so on. Doesn't matter. Support engineer want them to be registered. Okay. So this you have to creative enough explain. Okay, so you need to write down the date. So what the it's like a CV. Nanti kita kat sini what's your role and so on. And over the years, over that experience, how much you spend for your design work, site planning and so on. So there are some requirements that you need to meet the total. Right? So and there over here there is someone need to be and acknowledge your experience. Basically, we put a professional engineer here. It not need to be a PEPC, but as enough as PE only to sign your auto validate your experience. A signature of supervising engineer or has personal knowledge of kitchen training experience. And for the to eligible, you are required to have 36 months. I mean that 3 years a month, including 2 years general training and 1 year various managerial and tech. Okay, so I think good.
Doctor,
Yes, saya.
should we take some break?
Boleh je.
Okay, 5 minutes, okay.
Boleh.
Alright, okay, to participant, you are going to take break for 5 minutes. We will be right back at 12:10 p.m. In the meantime, if you have any question, you can type it in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, Dr. Nordin, you can continue with your presentation.
Thank you. Again. Okay. All right. I think some of the questions I have responded to the chat, but I think I will emphasize. I think it's something that coming in the coming, be highlighted in the coming slide. Right. Okay. I think this more document. Yeah. So I think when it comes to the electrical, basically you need to submit technical drawing. Okay, so please put it together and make sure that being certified by a professional engineer under that supervise you. Or if you are in the big organization, for example, in order to release document, you need to get some clearance from the organization. So please do so because that is beyond the control of the board. But what more important, basically, you provide the evidence, I think, such that for these purposes only, and you know you need to get the approval. Right? So, for example, the installation drawings for the uh, high voltage or low voltage, or and so on. The installation of the switch gear, transformers, and so on. Perhaps, for example, like that. So all the technical drawings need to be certified. You cannot, or any document that, for example, there's a part of the project that you want to publish over here also. You need to get at least get clearance from the authority, because the examiner or the certifying body are not responsible for any leaking or the info. Okay. Okay. All right. So I want to go. This is quite critical. I think it's explained to what you talking about. For the training on experience and first kita ada two part. There are two type of the report that you need to submit. Okay, I want to divide the explanations from. There are two parts. Before you go for PAE or sitting for the interview and the essay, basically you need to provide the technical or the training and the experience report, as well as technical project report. So there are two things. So training or experience, basically to elaborate further about your CV. And so, for example, you are working, you started to work as engineer at company A, you have done this experience, and what's the involvement that's for example in a project or experience, are you just an engineer, part of the projects maybe, and the next stage perhaps it shows that you are already been promoted to become a lead engineer that managing, for example, electrical part of the project. And what's the evidence, for example, you want to provide the evidence from the some calculation or some drawing that you might publish through the so-called the documentation as well. Okay, so that's not it. And the technical or very project report is if you are very much doing engineering work, so basically you can take any one of the projects that you involve. It should then the project able to show that you are so-called leading taking the leadership of the, for example, you as the lead engineer to design, for example, the layout and the installation of the so-called some equipment, perhaps, then you can write on that one. So you need to explain what you have done, what's a PQ, and so. Okay. So this is look like it's not this is like a template, it's a sample. So you need to be written something like this. This is a training and experience report. So you need to have something like this, and you need to write down. You need your explain your so-called GE number or graduate engineer number over here, and you can add also the endorsement from the part, or I mean, is it been endorsed by the supervising engineer, for example. Supervise. Okay. So it can be bahasa Melayu boleh Azad, tak ada masalah. Bahasa Melayu. Tapi kalau bahasa Melayu totally bahasa Melayu, don't mix. So supervisory engineer, then you can write down over here. Then get the professional to stamp over here. To stamp, so there are two different stamp. One is a diamond, the PE only, or PEPC with a round one. Right? Okay, so then this is pretty much, as I explained, training and experience report is pretty much to explain detail out your CV. Right, so a CV has a chronology. Here also you have a chronology, but try to focus to, for example, you want to apply for professional engineer in electrical, so you need to explain explicitly in detail your involvement in the electrical related, you know, job or experience. Either you are junior engineer to be promoted to become senior engineer, lead engineer to become, for example, project manager. So you should explain, because that experience, matter, because we are going to calculate and also to validate you as you have enough experience in specific job, specific role, and so on. Okay. Uh, because all this document letter to be used by the examiner also for the interview, because we will be using this one again to ask you and to validate either what you've been written over here is correct, right? Sometimes, based on my previous experience, normally we are not able to determine, either, because some of the engineers here is so-called engineers, but sales engineer to do product selling only, don't really understand about the, how to be deployed and so on. So it's quite tough for us it's not convincing to have like that. Need to go a little bit depth, being sales engineer, what are you doing? Okay, you do some, advisory to the customer, you validate the drawing, for example, because you have your equipment, right? So make sure that the equipment is fulfilled, with the I mean the layout as well. Okay, so you need to explain about. I think this is straightforward. I think clear is more clear, professional and training. So you need this is like a CV lah. Okay? So basically what you are doing here, what's your competency, nampak dekat sini. So this is just one of the sample. It's not necessary you need to follow 100%. It's again, everyone is coming from different background. You might be having difference, way of you want to interpret your experience, right? Okay. So this is more on the technical report. Pretty much this is to detail out one of your projects. You want to show that I am done my part. I, you know, for example, you have 10 different projects that you experienced, you went through from the beginning, as you started from graduate engineer to become current. So you choose one of the projects that you have contributed or involved pretty much. Right? So if you're coming from research point of view, you need to explain maybe one of your projects that related to what are you doing. But it's not just to explain. You need to also competent able to explain whatever you write over there. Right? That's very important, because the information that you provide to BM or to the super basically to be used by us as examiner again to validate. And if you've been validated, then it's clear, it's confirmed that you are having such experience. Okay, this is one of the sample only. It's not necessarily you need to follow, right? Some are, prime university, they might be using a template like macam, thesis like, it's a like thesis like, there's some declaration. But I think this is good to refer to, right? Okay, so yeah, you can see that, Uh, what more important that we also want to see actually, you are supervised by a validate a correct engineer. So that might be some professional engineer in the organization. I think some government authority or government department, they're pretty much very structured. They have a senior engineer, there is a professional engineer, there's junior engineer, and those junior engineer will be supervised by those. But in the normal consulting company, there are not many, but there are some like structured. But in the big picture of normal company outside that don't really align to what the operation business at the board of engineer want, basically they have their own daily job. For example, a big company, listed company, right? So they are very huge company. In your department, there are no one professional engineer inside your department, but doing the engineering work, you may refer to someone from department beside you that having professional to supervise you or to validate your reports and so on. Yeah, because one time maybe it's not, we are not able to have all that best scenario all the time. Okay, you cannot have all professional engineer. You be supervised by one professional engineer directly and for you. So that's the best scenario, but not all the time. We foresee that sometimes some of these engineer candidate, they will request someone professional engineer from different department because they are professional engineer, they know what they are doing, and they will help you to basically become like mentor for you, right? So this is okay. What we really must actually, for example, look actually is we want to look. Let me take a few of the sample that I have over here. Okay, so yeah, for example, yeah, okay, while I'm streaming. So for example, they have an objective, they have introductions, what else? Okay, and this is about what experience. Okay, just want to take a look. Okay, for example, this is one of the project. For example, okay, there are two projects here. I just want yeah, so showing that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. So this is the experience report. So tebal. Okay. All right. The candidate is coming from a consulting company. He's a so want to get yeah. He explained the what he went through. He moved from one company to another company, but still in the same domain, doing the engineering consultancy. And so he explained what his role, what he has accomplished. All right. Right. So we will request or further confirm either during the job, during the, for example, taking at one company, what is your role? Are you doing training? Are you doing design? For example, doing, for example, here doing some job related to construction company or build up a condominium, then he is involved for electrical, for ELB package, for example, for the low voltage and so on. Right. So something like that. Okay. Yeah. Basically, because we are applying for electrical, sometimes you involve in the project yang ada multidisciplinary. It doesn't matter, but you need to very focus to explain that you are doing this showing that you are doing job related to that. This is experience dulu. We go through the experience dulu. Okay, so the experience, for example, you might be want to explain also, you apply your knowledge on determine, for example, you know, incoming supply, for example. So you, for example, the main supply from the TNB, for example, what kV, 33 kV, then downgrade to, for example, uh, what level and so on. Right? Okay. We want to see also you have experience in load calculation. Okay. Or yeah, something like that. Okay. And if you are involved with transformer, you want to understand, how much power in, power out, and what is the sizing of the transformer. It's and normally, commonly it's about cable sizing. Okay, so we want you to calculate also about the cable sizing. So yeah, but I said that is one example. It's not always everyone has the same experience. Okay, okay. So this is pretty much on the experience. Secondly, actually on the on the technical report. So he reports on the design of electrical low voltage distribution for for example, what project. Okay, so the guy here, the candidate here, one of the candidates involved in the design of electrical low voltage distributions. So what he involved basically from the discussion from the because it's a multidisciplinary uh, of the big project. So he involved as part of M&E engineer. So he actually explained, for example, Uh, let me go through. Okay, so for example, he involved the scope of the work that he assigned was to design the low voltage distribution system, which include main switchboard, sub switchboard, distribution board, and articulation cabling, right? Final sub circuit to design the standby generator system. This not is additionally he also look on the telecommunications, system as well, because this is a consulting company. Sometimes you very not having so many engineers, so the guy might be looking also telecommunications related stuff as well. Earthing system, lightning system, and so on. Okay, so this is pretty much on electrical. Basically, he involved in low voltage, standby generator, and power factor corrections as well. Right? So all those calculations for example, the calculations, load assessment are required to be in part of the report, right? Okay. For example, normally we always ask, what is the maximum demand, and so on. Okay, because I think someone asked question also, what look like the technical essay will be, right? Basically, we always don't ask because we only have the opportunity to meet you, for example, for that 45 minutes, and prior that one pretty much under this document. So the question normally, it is not just a statement. But based on our experience, we normally will refer to your technical report, what you've been written in the report, and we will squeeze it a bit to come up with questions for your technical essay. Basically, it's related to what you have provided us. So we don't ask something that out of the scope, because we also problem if we ask something that you are not able to answer. So we are somehow our guidance is just to look at what you have provided us, and definitely we will try to come up with some sort of question coming from your report. Yeah. So that's a general statement, but it's maybe vary from one examiner to another examiner. But based on my experience, because we don't have any knowledge on you prior to that meeting or the interview, so the best material for us to refer to your technical experience report, as well as your project report. So we normally will take it. All right. Okay. So that's okay. So we go through this one first before we sit for. I think we have about half an hour to go. I think I want to go a few more slides and then try to answer the question. Okay. So this is very important. I think this to summarize this part. Yeah. So ini yang sangat penting. Yeah. We are looking for this item. Not okay. Okay. Training experience. So what we want in the report. Okay. Provide detailed descriptions of the candidate engineering training experience throughout the career. Typically, basically you elaborate further about your CV, but in the technical manner. We are doing here electrical, so we explain your role, what your experience in doing electrical related work or consultancy and so on. Okay, so you put in the chronological order. Okay, explain precisely the position that candidate has occupied and the role and responsibility assigned, fully with the task on which he has been employed. For example, okay, because we want to see you have this competency: design, construction, site, operation, maintenance, manufacturing. This is very much general, but for electrical, we want to see that you are having this design competency. See, elaborate further any subject expertise area in which candidate specialize. For example, you are doing the electrical layout. For example, for the substations, you show us there's incoming berapa, how what level to going down, and so on. Right? What's earthing, what's the lighting, and so on. I think what cable size being used, and you calculate also MP or maximum demand of it. Right? And yeah, I think this pretty much what we wish to have. Okay. So the technical reports basically, okay, the two parts are different. This is pretty much explain what are you doing from the day that you graduate as the day that you have uh, eligible as a engineer, when you have the graduate engineer. Then you explain in terms of order, chronological order from the first, second, third. Okay. So the technical report is to explain further detail, maybe one of the item partly from your experience, right? So any project that you involve, for example, that we want to see that you are doing this part of the job, design work, some study perhaps, and for example, you do some survey, because maybe yeah, this is the example, you are working under, for example, related to water, you want to to do some you know remote station, but you want to design, you want to do survey related to electrical requirement to set up a remote water station, for example. So all those things, anything related to operational, maintenance work, and other. Okay? And any drawing that you want to supply to us need to be signed by supervising professionals. Okay, so this is very very important because by having this one, it also a proof to us that you are went through a proper process, you has been validated or been supervised by a professional engineer, and therefore we confident that you are been handled properly, and therefore you are so-called eligible to be so-called uh, given another higher task as a professional. Right? So drawing and documents shall be submitted or work with the so it's a permanent or long-term contraction as well. So you need to be a little bit careful. Okay. Yeah. So sometimes because this is sometimes is related to the job. So sometimes based on our past experience, candidate will submit any document that or for the technical report. Basically, the project already completed and no, it's no uh, current job being done over there. So this is a technical report where we want to at least two or more working drawing of the candidate, detailed design calculations related one or more of the candidate all submitted drawing. For example, we want to calculate the cable size, the downgrade from the incoming, for example, 33 kV, yet to run for the 11. Uh, sorry, this is how the downgrade of those. And we want to also have some knowledge for you. For example, you involved in the BQ. You want to set up the BQ. What is the equipment? For example, you want to do one sub project. What is required? Devices, equipment, and so on. So at least you're able to list down all the BQs, and uh, that's quite critical. So, okay. This is part of the design work. So basically, we try to figure out, it's not just we want to interrogate you, but actually, if the report not showing those things, this is our responsibility to ask you to explain to us to saying that you have this involvement. Otherwise, there's no clear for us to say that you are doing this thing. Right? So sometimes we will further emphasize this question, ask you to answer this one time again and again. Right. So this is for feasibility study. Should be involved one or more the following: functional and economic comparison of preliminary design of engineering system. For example, you are a product company, you want to study about how this new product versus the previously available product in the market being used from engineering point of view. Right? So this can be part of the project technical report as well. Comprehensive report of the major project, design of the major engineering. Okay. So some other projects report can be installation, operation, maintenance, Okay, something like this. Yeah, formulated design. Okay, the critical result of the design of the engineering system may be so the candidate should be. Right? For example, you do some so-called extension of the current substation, for example. So that's extension work, for example, you involve. So you need to explain in detail. Right? Okay. All right. So that is pretty much on the technical report. I think we will come back to that one. But before the, because PAE, we have to go to the PAE first. Okay. So okay. So PAE they have two parts. Yeah. So because it's really much connects or related to the submitted report. Okay. So PAE where they have two part. One is the oral interview. We have a principal. Oh, sorry, some principal interviewer. So you'll be contacted either by the certifying body, for example, like IEM or mindset. They will set up a date for your interview. So on, then you will go for the oral exam. As I explained to you, we will refer for these two documents, the experience as well as the technical report, as a base to interview you. Normally, we will interview you for each candidate, normally 45 minutes. Okay, so please, you know, put a proper attire, come to the, to the uh, sessions, and so that you are confident, yeah, in become a professional, right? What else I can help provide you advice? Basically, be yourself. This is very important. You are knowing that you are can eligible or having good knowledge or qualified from this. You just explain what's been asked, and definitely you will have to expect your report. Okay. So once you finish the oral exam, we pretty much understand either you can go, you can perform next or not, right? So everyone will be going to the second part, basically on the two essays, right? Right? You need to answer. There are two parts, session A, session B. Session A basically a technical related or your project related, and session B basically is the professional code of ethic of conduct, right? So it's an ethic question. Ethic question basically pretty much straightforward. Normally there's a set of question already available in the society. You can take a look on that one and foresee how to answer this. Right. Right. Okay. So there are about 3 hours exam. Yeah. 1.5 hours for each question that you need to write about 1,500. So for the essay exam, normally for during the pandemic, normally we do the oral exam interview online, but the essay exam we do separately on different day. Some of the candidate will be called to the venue to sit for the essay writing. They have section one, section A, section B. Section A at least pretty much related to the technical report, right? So it's not what we call it. It's no. There are some development at the board of engineer trying to revise this process, but I think it's slowly to take up the effective. The it will be effective very soon. They are talking about outcome-based PAE exam, so it's pretty much structured type of the exam. But at this current moment, we're still applying this method where section A, we will ask you to further explain, or for example, you as a project engineer, you've been tasked to set up or to do the extension of the substation for this condominium or at this shopping mall. Okay, so please put a proper assumption. So basically, when we are putting the proper assumption here means that we wish you are able to provide the assumptions accordingly. Normally, that assumption is referred to what you've been written in the technical report. Okay? For example, in the technical report, you explain your experience, for example, doing one project For example, on the, for example, uh, installation of switch gear, or low voltage and so on. So it can be very, very varied. But what you explain from in the in the technical report, normally we use that context to to put a question for the section. Okay. Section B is pretty much straightforward. I think it's a professional code of the conduct. Ethics, I think is commonly ethics. No, the best way is understand from the Board of Engineers code of conduct. That's the must. Secondly, actually, is if you are working in a company, normally in each company they have a ethics, a list of the values. It's good to remember and use in the report as well, because you want to explain that you are coming from that organization. Then you, when you are discussing the topic of the code of the conduct, you are using the values that's coming from your organization. That is pretty much that. We will ask, the question be asked about role engineer in the society, and sometimes the question asks, for example, give a scenario and you are consulting engineer over here, what should you do, right? So maybe some issues is regard to the uh, uh, some engagement of the another engineer, uh, communication with vendors and so on. Right. So I think this is explained just now. Okay, so what we want to get, actually section A 1.5, section B 1.5, typically related technical aspect related to candidate submitted report. So this is this I explained just now. Yeah. Point three, to put basically show sound engineering basic. You need to explain engineering related. You cannot explain pretty much very very vague type of evidence. Okay. Second part, section B, regulated code of conduct, role of engineer society, ethical judgment. Okay, so I think this one clear. I've been saying to you just now. Okay, just gonna understand what we believe that what you provide to us actually is you have went through, and that's also reason we use that one as a base to put a question for you to for the essay. Right, so it's straightforward. If you're good at the technical, right, your technical report, then definitely you can do this accordingly. Right. And for the section B, I think their list of questions is available. For example, here, the engineer has a duty to care the public under common law. Discuss giving example and education that his duty imposed on himself as a professional engineer. Discuss. So this is only one statement, but you need to elaborate further from the ethics point of view. Secondly, if you were a consulting engineer and were submitting turnkey tender on behalf of a turnkey contractor, would you consider a conflict of interest between the role of consulting engineer and contractor? Okay, then you need to explain. Okay, I think this one already. I think if you these questions are available. You can have it up prior to the sessions. Right. Okay. There are few questions, so you can take a look and prepare accordingly. The best actually is to read through all the acts available in Quorum Engineer, Engineering Acts. Sometimes you need to go to Machinery Act, but I think Engineering Act is good enough already. And another one actually is the Code of Conduct under Board of Engineering. And at the meantime, also it's a bonus if you can bring in the values that come from your company and so on. Right, so that's quite good. These are some of the questions, as I explained just now. This is the you don't need to answer all questions, but normally the exam we determine, for example, please answer this question. Please answer this question. Right. So okay. And this is the result. So when you have submitted, then we will review something like this. As I said, there are two certifying body currently under Board of Engineer. You can go through IEM or you can go through SETS. This is not actually Board of Engineer will select which certifying body to review your application. Okay. I think the rest I think is straightforward. Once you complete the PAE, then definitely you can you'll be notified that you have approved, you have passed the PAE exam, and ask you to apply for upgrading yourself from graduate engineer to become professional engineer. Okay, so this is you need to pay this number lah, money. Right. So I think before we go to the exam, the Q&A, I think recently the board of engineer, they are looking for outcome-based professional assessment exam. Okay, they supposed to start this May. I think they try to make it compulsory next year, where it's pretty much doing outcome-based PAE. Confirm whether the candidate training experience has satisfactorily met the competence required for professional engineer. So, two experienced trained PAE assessor will conduct. So this is normally what we do. Okay. So what been asked basically to measure the knowledge, understanding, skills, and professional attitude necessary for the PAE candidate to perform effectively. Basically, we are looking at your competency. To use standard competency descriptor as a rule. It's somehow like coming out with a rubric. Okay, because it's quite because the examiner also having different background and so on. Sometimes it's quite tough, to review one candidate, another candidate. Other people may be saying differently. We maybe interpret differently. So I think PM is trying to come out with a proper like a rubric type of the evaluation process. Okay, use rubric to assess the competency level, minimum, and this is good for the candidate as well because they know upfront which level they are. Okay, assesses to base assessment on the evidence demonstrated by. Okay. So that is something that is ongoing. I've not yet been informed about this thing. We still continue what we have done from the past, but I think in the future there's a rubric to refer to. Definitely, we also have a guiding, documents. It's not nothing from zero. When we, for example, this is some of the evaluation form. What we look on the examination report. For the report, for example, we look at your document, report, training, experience, drawing, thesis, project study, project report. Okay, I'm not able to share because this is a live document. This is other people. But this is something that we are able to share to you. Interview, what we are looking at, as I explained just now, we are looking on your technical experience, design experience, and so on. Some experience in the field, workshops, so on. On the essay, again, we want to understand that because engineers should able to write technical report. So that's one idea why written exam is required and able to convey the message accordingly. Yes, and the recommendation is simple: pass, fail, or refer to another. Because sometimes we are not able to decide, then we refer back to the examination committee. Then we need to explain also if fail, what is the reason for the fail? Might be report, drawing, design calculation, quantities, project study, project report, essay, thesis, design. Maybe it's not enough, and so on. Right? Yeah. Right. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that is what we are going to basically based on the two reports, scientific report, based on the interview, based on the essay reports that you provide us later and you have answered, we are going to to provide you the answers and able to inform the committee the result and so on. Okay, I think that is my presentation. I want to go through first before I will take the question, the list of the questions that okay. I don't know or cannot be able to see. Okay, I will go for the above. All right, so okay, tips. Okay, I'll answer first. From Siti Haida. For ethic question, campaigner elaborate a bit on what to write in the introduction, content, or the point of conclusion. Do we need to relate the answer? Yes, definitely. Try to relate as much to code of the conduct of the parameter. You can also explain why this thing can be done because of the act of engineer, engineer's act, for example. So, for example, as a company owner, I'm taking someone that not registered with the board of engineer as a graduate engineer. I take him as a engineer. I'm giving him a job as engineer. So, and you need to provide the explanation which one is what's wrong with that situation, right? So you need to explain. I think the owner is violating the act of the engineer because it's clearly stated in the act of engineer that any company that want to take any engineer, that those engineer must be a qualified engineer. Qualified means that registered with board of engineer. Okay, so basically, when you explain about the ethics, you explain about the context, but try to relate to the evidence, either RE, means the engineering acts, or code of the conduct given, right? Or you can add on also, because ethic is not just for engineer, it's all profession, even being the company also, you have your own value. You can bring in also that values to support your your answers. Okay, so, second question from Yasmiruddin. If working engineering practice were doing overseas assignment, will this considered? Yes, as long as you are employed with a local company. Important, yeah. For example, you're doing Petronas, you do job in Iraq and so on, or do job, for example, and so on. Yeah, it's okay, because that might be temporary over there. You finish the job, you come back, you get another job. Control system discipline, which department should you go? Computer branch or electronic? Zul, go for electronic, not computer. Siti Jahidah lagi, is PAE part of the technical question, something related to technical report? Yes. Yeah, as I mentioned just now, we normally have no clues if we ask other than you have provided us. So basically, the best reference for us basically is what you have submitted to us, basically the technical report. So we use that one as the basis to develop questions for your technical essay writing. Right? Which angle the report can be simply asked? Yeah, it can be varied. Normally, for electrical, we will ask you to design. Probably either you want to design according to what you have provided, because you, for example, you have provided design related experience, then definitely we ask you design, and you will put for example, we have a project, for example, at the Pengerang, for example, you involve with setup of new substation, then you are taking the input from TNB, Homa, then how you leverage that input with others as well, right? So that assumption, because to us, when we please provide a proper assumption, mean that we assume you know that assumption. You are not able to put the assumption, mean that you are not able to answer the question. So basically, as you written in the report, definitely we assume that you already know that you are able to provide a proper assumption. Right? Go one by one. Yeah. Give example. In calculation, yes, calculation ada or can be simply spec option in the report. Well, all the best, Siti Johaida, PAE this coming Monday. Loping as graduate engineer necessary to attend course by EM. In the past, yes, to get the CPD hours. That one also to explain, that 3 years. In the past, is this requirement for you to attend the courses. But I think to those courses, if you are taking subject in Malaysia at the university, all that courses already embedded in the university courses already. So they assume you have gone through. But it's not stopping you to go to take any additional courses, especially related to your area. Why not? Go ahead. Job title executive. Yeah, I understood because I'm coming from that background also. No. Khairul Anwar, executive, but if you're able to show us you are doing engineering work, no big problem. Because some of the big company rather to put you as engineer than they put you executive, because you will manage a projects as well, right? More important actually to provide the job scope, yeah, the elaboration in the experience just now. Okay. Okay. Faizal tanya, okay, ini dah jawab. Persediaan technical report adakah minimum limit voltage? No, because we cannot assume everyone go through a high voltage. You know, maybe you are involved with low voltage because, for example, you are working at for example, JKR. Okay, you only manage project for low voltage. Not necessarily. You don't have enough experience to go to whole high voltage. How can you provide those experience? No, don't need. Not necessary. So kalau you have the experience, show it. More important actually, I think the best way actually honest to yourself, honest to the report, right accordingly. If you don't have, don't put in. Itu yang penting. Kalau you tulis juga, then you are not able to answer our questions. Right? Design, yeah. Okay. This is not like kelayakan, yeah. I think BM haven't related either you need to achieve, for example, for different to fit for to become attachments that cost in order to you to apply for PN. No, this is just knowledge, applying the knowledge to the right scenario, and you have that competency. I think that is good. Weakness, what type of the question can be a technical, as I explained just now, is coming from the technical report. From the professional conduct, there are list of questions already, but they don't run away from that one. If they ask you, for example, bribery issues, which relate to engineering services, maybe perhaps they change difference context. For example, during the pandemic, because of the engineers are not able to travel to the site, and because that one you are sending, for example, digital signature, but how you want to manage it properly. Explain your means or you discuss that's matter. It can be done like that. So the core question will not change. The change will is the scenario. No. Bahasa Melayu can, Azad boleh. Report English, interview Malay, no problem. Muhaimin boleh. Normally, I'm not insist, but normally we allow both, right? Wang, Kok Chin, technical report, is it accepted to use project reference whereas the candidate role was? Yeah, design was on design, but I think but Kok Chin, you have to explicitly what your design role over here, right? So you cannot just maybe you are like a drafter, you just prepare, or you review the draft, the layout provided by drafter, but you need to have some knowledge on how that's drawing going better on, right? So if you're able to show us that's evident, then it should be fine. Scenario project, there's at least 3 years, how many projects? Maybe 5 projects is good enough already. Hasniza, how we include something confidential? I think again, you can put disclaimer saying that this confidential, this information is just for these purposes only, right? Or it's coming from the company. Please get the clearance from your management. BQ pun mawakah? Ya, ada. Yeah, this is because we want engineers also able to do this. We want to review the BQ. Building maintenance field, how detail should we explain? Explain from electrical point of view. Don't explain about building maintenance. Okay, how you do the maintenance for the electrical thing. For technical report, design and set experience need to come from the same project. Can, no problem. Yes and no, right? Technical report is pretty much detailed on the single or 2 projects, but site experience is in your experience report. So you can have that one as one of the experience. Khairul Anwar, Muhammad Amin, can we use experience where we work with other branch engineering practice, for example, CNS, ELP, by having M&E department to handle. More important, I think this is for the experience rise is okay. But for the technical report, it must be explained from ethical point of view. Otherwise, how are we going to review your application, because you're having different difference, maybe a competency, right? Just to confirm, PE electric boleh endorse, supervise DE, boleh. Okay, boleh. Basically, as I said just now, tadi ada satu. Okay, I think why this core four branch of the okay, this one is very strong. In BM, this is four branch of the or discipline of the engineering core. So those who are having the civil or mechanical, electrical, or chemical professional engineer, they are eligible to endorse this subfield. But those who wish the computer or electronic or communication, they are eligible to endorse any graduate engineer within their field only. They are not able to endorse electrical or other field. Okay, hopefully clear. All right. Okay. Okay, we have 1 o'clock already. Okay, any last questions? Okay, Hasnita, thank you. I'm hoping you get some idea, maybe not direct. If you wish to contact me or you want to get some advice, just do contact me. I think I have some at the back. Yeah. So, any more questions? Any questions?
Participant, if you have
The slide will be given by the uh, MJA, my Mega Jati, or you can contact me directly as well. Okay, so I think I have the number. Okay. I think you have to have a group. I think I can ask the organizer lah. Um, I'm just a speaker over here. Right. Okay. So, but I can give you some advice if you wish with regard to your applications and so on. Yeah. Right. So, okay. Any last one? Can I use side experience in your communication field and design electronic field? Okay. Basically, I think this is a committee we review because, for example, degree in electrical, but when you perform the job you are doing not electrical, you do a little bit communication. So the examination committee will review your experience and they will ask more question about this one, provide evidence and so on. If you don't have the evidence, then definitely they will recommend you to go for electronics or communication. Right? So, yeah. But the accountability become a professional engineer still the same, but the coverage for the communications or electronic little bit smaller as is a sub-discipline under electrical. Being electrical engineers, professional engineer, you have a big responsibility, a huge responsibility. Okay. All right. I think if there's no question and 1 o'clock already, I would like to first of all thank you, Megajati, for having this session, as well as the esteemed and patience participants that stay until the end. And I'm hoping that we will keep in touch and we are here to support. I'm being personal, if not part of Megajati, by the way. I wish to help as many engineers as we can. So please, consult us if you have any questions. I think that we can help because that's must be some disclaimer as well. All right. Then if no question, thank you and go back to the organizer. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
All right, thank you, Technologies Engineer Dr. Nordin bin Rami, for the great sharing session. And also thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Once you leave this webinar, you will receive a survey email for today's webinar session, and we really appreciate if you could complete that and provide us your feedback. On behalf of On behalf of MGA and our speaker, thank you for joining us today. Stay safe and take care, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Doctor.
Salam.